Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really complex story.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. We're looking at a former military surgeon, Maggie McCabe.
Right, and after her husband dies suddenly, she gets tangled up in this huge international web.
Huge is right. We're talking medical tech, shady finance, dangerous secrets. It's all in there.
And our source material for this deep dive.
It's pretty comprehensive. Seems like a collaborative effort, copyrighted 2025. Goes deep into characters, the logistics, even the medical details.
Okay, so where does Maggie's story kick off?
It starts in Baltimore, about a year after her husband, Mark Adams, who was this gifted cardiothoracic surgeon, died.
He died during a humanitarian mission, didn't he, in Godown?
That's right. And the source material even had this dedication, to the many military doctors and nurses who have placed themselves in peril.
So that's a pretty noble stage, which makes what comes later feel even starker, I guess.
Exactly. Because Maggie, at this point, she's really struggling. Grieving, obviously, but also facing financial ruin and her medical license suspended.
So she's vulnerable. Which leads us to the central question, really. How does someone like that, an ethical surgeon, end up operating secretly in Russia?
That's the core of it, how grief, debt, and being professionally sidelined pushes her into this incredibly risky situation.
Let's maybe unpack that initial trauma first. Mark's death.
Okay. So Mark was at the Tri-Point refugee camp, high-risk zone near the Algeria-Libya border. Militants around, the whole situation was volatile.
And his focus was purely medical, right?
Yeah, his whole thing was no sides, just save lives. Like this kid, Yazel, a 15-year-old patient he was treating. Yeah. But here's the interesting part about his personality.
What's that?
The source suggests he wasn't afraid of the danger there. He actually seemed to fear a normal life back home more.
He thrived on the adrenaline.
Sort of. That fear of normalcy is key. Maybe explains why he might have gotten drawn into something. Well, more complicated than just aid work.
That's a really interesting contrast to Maggie's crisis back home, which her sister, Sharon, is dealing with in a very unique way.
Oh, yeah. Sharon McCabe. She's described as this, polymath, a coding genius.
And her response to Mark's death wasn't typical.
Not at all. She built something called a grief bot, an AI app.
Okay, what does it do?
It mimics Mark. Sharon fed it everything: emails, social media posts, smart speaker interactions, his entire digital footprint.
So Maggie could talk to him?
Essentially, yes. Talk to an AI version of him that was almost perfectly accurate.
Wow, that's intense. Genius tech maybe, but the ethics feel murky.
Definitely murky. Sharon apparently lived by this Flaubert quote: "Be regular and orderly in your life, so you may be violent and original in your work."
And the grief bot was certainly original, maybe violently so in its own way.
Well, think about it. If the bot is that perfect, does it just replicate his memories? Or does it also replicate his secrets, his ability to deceive?
So the AI might know things or hide things just like the real Mark would have.
Exactly. It's this perfect digital deception, which kind of foreshadows the physical deception Maggie walks into next.
Okay, so that sets up the theme of identity and replacement. How does she get from Baltimore to Moscow, then?
She gets recruited by Dr. Evan Darlow, described as very wealthy, uses his checkbook to smooth things over, and this other figure, Ivan Brovsky.
And the job?
Discreet cosmetic surgery. Overseas, big money involved. For a very private client.
Which leads her to Rublevka, outside Moscow.
Yeah, to the compound of Oleg Grigorovich, supposedly one of Russia's most reclusive billionaires. His place is described as this over-the-top palace, all about isolation and control.
And they go to extreme lengths to get her cooperation, right?
Unbelievable lengths. They build an operating theater for her that is an exact duplicate of her old OR at Johns Hopkins.
Just to make her feel comfortable, the cost, the logistics.
It's astonishing. Shows how much they needed her, specifically. And the surgeons confirmed the goal wasn't just a touch-up.
What did he want done?
Some standard stuff like eyelid surgery, blepharoplasty, but also a complex jaw reshaping, a sliding genioplasty, to match a specific photo labeled A.
Okay, so changing his fundamental look.
And the main event was a really advanced open rhinoplasty using a custom-made artificial nose scaffold.
Artificial scaffold?
Yeah, designed by AI, then 3D printed on a specialized machine, an MB Reps 3D printer using biocompatible polyethylene. State-of-the-art stuff.
The goal being?
To make him look like someone else entirely. Total identity change.
And Grigorovich even gives her this weird art lesson, doesn't he?
He does. Takes her to see 3 identical Mona Lisa forgeries. He has this theory the real one was swapped for a fake back in 1913 by the forger.
And he sees that deception as immortality.
Magnificent immortality, yeah.
Mhm.
It's his justification, his allegory for what he's doing to his own face. Perfect deception equals escape or permanence.
It parallels the grief bot perfectly. Digital identity replication, physical identity change, both chasing some kind of escape through fakery.
Exactly. Then comes the second patient, Nadia Strauss.
Right. Needing specific breast implants, gummy bears, the source says, and other enhancements. But Maggie feels something's off.
Immediately. She questions Nadia's consent. Grigorovich just brushes it off with this chilling line. She wants, I want. Why can't we all get what we want?
Yeah, that tells you everything about the power dynamics there. Ethics out the window.
Totally. But the real bombshell drops during Nadia's surgery.
A tattoo.
The tattoo. Nadia has the exact same serpent and saint tattoo on her upper thigh that Mark had, the one he claimed he got drunk during spring break.
No way. That can't be a coincidence.
Absolutely not. Maggie realizes instantly Mark's death, the camp, this oligarch, Nadia, it's all connected, deeply coordinated.
Okay, so that blows everything wide open for her. What does she do?
She has to act fast.
Yeah.
She gets in touch with an investigator, Charles Lockwood, who's been looking into Grigorovich.
And Lockwood connects the dots.
He drops the big one. Grigorovich, through something called the Castleton Foundation, was the main funder for World Cures Alliance.
World Cures. That was Mark and Maggie's humanitarian charity.
The very same. Maggie had no idea the funding came from him. Lockwood thinks Mark found out about the corruption and was maybe trying to become an informant.
So, a charity set up for good, funded by dirty money. Likely a front.
Seems like it. A way to launder money, or maybe something even worse. Maggie needs to escape Russia. She ends up in Dubai.
And finds Nadia again.
Yes. And Nadia reveals her real name is Salima.
Salima, wait, the guide from the refugee camp in Gadams. The one Mark relied on.
That's her. The threads all start pulling together. Salima also reveals she wasn't just a guide for World Cures. She'd initially volunteered as a kidney donor.
A kidney donor. Okay, so World Cures wasn't just about aid.
No. It looks like it was a pipeline, recruiting vulnerable people, potentially for organ harvesting or other exploitation.
This gets darker and darker. Where does the trail lead in Dubai?
To a high-end clinic called Apollo Longevity. Maggie tracks down a surgeon there they call Sleazy Steve.
Charming nickname. What's Apollo Longevity's deal?
On the surface, it's all cutting-edge anti-aging. Stuff like EBO therapy that's blood oxygenation, cell regeneration, very fancy treatments.
But there's more to it, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Steve confirms they have a side business. Refurbishing trafficked women.
Refurbishing? What does that even mean?
Using cosmetic surgery, like the breast augmentations Nadia Salima got, to increase their market value before they're sold on.
That's horrific, using medical tech to facilitate trafficking.
And he explicitly links Apollo Longevity's operations back to World Cures. It's one big dirty loop. Aid, exploitation, profit.
Unbelievable. So who's left to track down? There's another colleague, right? Trace Packer.
Right, Trace Packer.
Yeah.
He worked with Mark. To find him, Maggie teams up with, well, a very unexpected ally.
Yo.
Mark's father, Porkchop, who happens to be the head of the Vipers motorcycle gang.
Wait, seriously, a biker gang leader joins the international espionage plot?
Yep. It's definitely a twist, but
Yeah.
it turns out to be this mix of old-school muscle and new-school tech.
How does that work?
Porkchop provides the, let's say, ground-level intelligence and enforcement. Meanwhile, Maggie's sister Sharon repurposes her tech skills.
The grief bot tech.
Sort of. She uses a proprietary app, this beta UX thing she developed, linked to government LEO's low Earth orbit satellites,
To do what?
to track Maggie's phone after someone tried to wipe it remotely. The tracking leads them to France,
France. Why France?
an abandoned vineyard next to Chateau Beatty in Bordeaux. Trace was apparently a huge Francophile, invested in wine there, and there are rumors of massive underground construction at this vineyard.
Okay, so they think Trace is hiding out there. What does Maggie figure out about this underground facility?
She puts the pieces together. It's not military. It's a secret R&D site for cardiology.
Cardiology, like Mark's specialty.
Exactly. They were developing something called the Thumke R7-TAH.
Thumb PR7TAH. What is that?
It stands for Total Artificial Heart, a super advanced device blending robotics and regenerative tissue. This was the project Mark and Trace were working on.
So that's the prize. The illicit money from World Cures and Apollo was funding this potentially revolutionary and highly profitable medical tech,
That seems to be the conclusion. It all leads to this high-tech heart.
which sets up the final confrontation in Bordeaux.
Right. Maggie confronts Ivan Brodsky in this underground lab that sounds like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
But the real emotional gut punch comes from somewhere else.
From family.
Yeah. pork chop,
Right.
Mark's dad. He confesses something devastating.
What did he do?
He killed Trace Packer.
He killed Trace. Why?
He believed Trace was the one who murdered Mark back at the Tri-Point camp to cover up the whole scheme, the embezzlement, the trafficking,
Right.
retribution.
Wow. So Mark's colleague likely killed Mark, and Mark's father killed the colleague. That's incredibly tragic.
It is. And there's evidence supporting Trace's guilt photos taken by a photojournalist, Ray Levine, at the camp. They suggest Mark wasn't killed by militants, but by someone he knew. Likely Trace.
And the grief butt, does it offer any final clarity?
That's the kicker. Even the AI can't be 100% certain. It tells Maggie the most likely scenario is Mark died, as reported, possibly implicated himself, but the second most likely, that Trace killed him. The ambiguity remains, even in the digital ghost.
So even with all the answers, there's still uncertainty. What happens to Maddie and Pork Chop now?
It's unclear. They let Nadia Salima go free. Maybe she was Trace's fiancée, another layer of complexity. But Maggie, she decides she has to keep fighting against this whole system.
Even with the risks.
Even with the risks. Professionally, personally, it's immense.
So summing this all up, it's a cycle, isn't it? Humanitarian work twisted into organ trafficking, funding cutting-edge tech, with AI blurring the lines between grief and deception the whole time.
The devastating cycle. It shows a complete breakdown of trust in medicine, in charity, even within families, and within oneself when faced with that kind of AI mimicry.
And the corruption itself, like that artificial heart, is always moving, always evolving.
It never stands still, right? It either gets worse or gets better, exposed or hidden, but it's dynamic.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. Sharon, Maggie's sister, built this AI grief bot to be incredibly accurate, right? So accurate, maybe, that it held back truths just like the real Mark would have.
Yeah, that obsession with perfection.
So what does it mean when technology gets so good it doesn't just replicate memory and personality, but also replicates a dead person's capacity for secrets and lies? Who or what was Maggie really talking to?